is The View from Halfway Down, an episode-by-episode analysis of the Netflix original series Bojack Horseman.
That's Sebastian. They're the Bojack Horseman expert.
And that's Alexandra. She's the expert on being pretentious.
We try to avoid character and plot spoilers on this show, but minor things are bound to slip by, and of course, this is going to contain major spoilers up to the current episode. But before we talk about the current episode, we have a little announcement.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm super duper excited about it. As you guys know, it is our finale, our season finale.
We're done with the show. We will never be doing the show ever again. It was nice getting to know you. It was nice watching this show.
Yep.
So too bad we can't find out what happens to Bojack after all this.
Yeah, too bad.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to play the intro or the outro at this point. So what is our animal? That's the bit's over. Continue. What's the announcement?
So to celebrate our finale, we have decided to host a fan art competition. So this will be fan art for either our podcast or Bojack, or ideally a mixture of both would be really great. We'll have 3 winners with prizes.
So you'll have 3 months to create whatever art you have you would like to make, send it in and post it places, and then what we have is we then let our patrons vote on which pieces they find their favorite, and then we do have cash prizes, which are
first prize will be getting $100. Second prize will be getting $50, and the third prize is $25. Also, all winners will be featured on our Doof Media blog, and all nominations will obviously be promoted within the network. Everyone will see it. It's a good way to get your artwork out there.
Also, of course, we'll have a section for honorable mentions and such, because whenever we do one of these contests, which we've mostly done for works by Wildbow, but also I think we had a Kingslingers fan art contest, or we had a writing contest at least. The whole community gets together and we talk about it, and it's a really, really good time.
Yeah, it's going to be very fun. Again, you do have 3 months to work on it. So the due date will be July 27th. We do have some rules and a bunch of information to kind of make the whole process easier, which we'll be posting on all our socials, which we'll plug at the end of the show, as well as our website. In order to submit your art into the contest, you can post it either on the Bojack subreddit or on Instagram, and you have to use our contest caption with our hashtag. You can find this caption to copy and paste to your caption, again, on all of our socials or on our website.
Yeah, and that'll just make it easier for us to see, as well as just have people look at your work and just get a little bit more hype for the contest and stuff. So
yeah, you can also email it to us and we'll post it for you.
At halfwaydowncast@gmail.com, which we'll say again. All right, anything else about the contest before we get into the episode?
I don't think so. If anything else comes up, we will just talk about it in the next one.
Okay, this is episode 12, the title of which is
Later.
I mean, I need you to say the title now. We're doing the podcast right now.
Later.
Why later? We're literally recording right now, Sebastian. So we open with not with Bojack, but with an interview with Secretariat. And he seems like a charming guy. Pretty handsome horse, I gotta say.
I disagree.
Really?
He's
Why?
too orange for me.
I like him orange. I like the Ginger Boys.
Well, I guess we all know who you voted for in 2016.
What the fuck? That's I hate this. That was the worst. I just said I like Ginger Boys, and I can't. Okay. All right. God, you threw me off my fucking game. So Secretary gets sort of he has a letter read for him, actually from Bojack. And Bojack says that he gets sad and asks Secretariat what he does to get not sad. And Secretariat says he runs. Running is what made sense to him. And he just keeps on running, that there's nothing behind him and he has to run away from that nothingness, basically, which was kind of dark.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense considering what ends up happening to Secretariat.
Yeah, he's running away from a bunch of allegations of betting on his own races, which honestly probably like one of the least problematic like ways that a celebrity can get canceled. Like I kind of just don't care
Yeah,
like at
why does
all.
it matter if you bet on your own
Well, it's because
races?
then you throw the race for money and it's not fair and stuff.
Oh, like he was betting like against himself?
I guess so.
Weird.
Because you can
Okay.
control your own
That
performance.
makes
So
sense. Smart, clever stuff.
it, illegal and
Taking
illegal.
notes.
um, but yeah, you know, at least it was when he was like, yeah, they said these allegations. I was like, oh, he sexually assaulted people because of course, because that's the only reason that people can get you know, taken down culturally. But
Hmm.
that was not the case in the 70s apparently, which gets pointed out. This is the 70s. You can't cheat
You
at
can't
sports.
cheat at sports in the
Get away
70s.
with it. Yeah. Um, yeah, so he got banned from racing and then jumped off a bridge 1 month later after that, which is yeah, pretty dark.
Yeah, that was pretty sad. I feel like that was probably definitely some form of a core memory for Bojack. Um,
Probably.
I feel like, I mean, just taking from the fact that he reached out to Secretariat for help and seemed to see him as like his own like idol, his hero. Um, to see that like, so I feel like he probably saw him as like a symbol of hope,
Hmm.
and then he killed himself.
Hmm.
So, and Bojack is a very hopeless person. I feel like that definitely may have contributed a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that advice is also very particular, and it does come up multiple times during this episode. Just those
Mm.
themes of, there is nothing behind you. All that exists lies ahead. There's gonna be people that try to like drag you down, but you just need to keep on running. And I'm gonna come back to that because I think there's another theme that's going on in this episode in like two scenes or something.
Hmm.
And they interact in a really interesting way. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Okay, all right. I'm
Um,
looking forward to that as well.
yeah. Anything else on Secretariat before going
No,
on?
no.
Okay. Then we have the intro, and we actually time skipped. This is one of the few time skips that we have. You know, we talked about last episode at the end there how very often the show literally picks up like the second that it left off, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Bojack kissing Diane, and then they're back in the car at the beginning of the next episode. They're like two times. The only other time I remember there being a time skip is when Diane got married, and then Bojack was drunk for 2 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which kind of makes sense.
yeah,
But yeah,
and
this one was
so
a
yeah, I
little kind
don't
of
even
out of
know
nowhere.
how long this time skip was, but we skipped to him being at the
Apparently long
Golden
enough
Globes.
for his book to win a Golden Globe.
Yeah, for best comedy or musical, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I
It's
don't think that Golden Globes are those supposed to go to books? I
no,
didn't
no,
think so.
no. They're for movies. Yeah, no, they shit on it because it's great. You already had the Oscars. Why do you need another Golden Globes? What's going on there?
Right.
At least the BAFTAs are like artsy. But anyway, so he does a little speech and he's like still, I don't know, you can kind of see that he's like a little bit more serious now, kind of. But he's not like better either. Still like I'm so brave going on about that. Um, and then they have a celebration at his restaurant. Real quick, I wanted to one tiny little side joke is that he and everyone else have been referring to everyone in the movie acting business of LA as Holly Woo. Now that the D is gone off of
Yeah.
Hollywood, because
Mhm.
I heard him say that and I was like, oh yeah, in this universe it's called Hollywood. No, it's not. They just because they stole the D, so now it's Hollywood. He was like the Hollywood media has been reporting on whatever. So I don't know. I found that pretty funny.
Yeah, no, it's like officially changed.
Yes. That is another change that was present in the intro.
Yeah.
Yes. But at this party, Princess Carolyn tells them that everybody loves you. So it's like, you know, the book is everything that Diane said it was going to be. And she also says, if you can't be happy tonight, maybe you never will. Which is, thanks, PC. Thanks.
Yeah, she's pretty funny throughout this whole episode. She speaks truth, man. She
Hmm.
does. No
Yeah.
bullshit.
Um, Bojack is approached by a fan. And just generally, there's like, he does recognize that people feel less lonely because of this book. Um, and he tries to use the book success to fuck this fan, which does not go well, but he does fuck someone else, literally just sitting next to him, which
Yeah,
is kind of
hated
funny.
that.
Yeah,
By
it
the
was a
way.
bit weird. Um, yeah. Uh, as a side thing, another little tiny joke I liked. So you pointed out how Erica is at every single party that
Yeah.
Phoebe's at. Well, in this one, he says, "Erica, who let you out of the burn ward?" Like, what happened to Erica?
I'm thinking, I was wondering about that, and I'm like, I wonder if in like the last time we
Yeah,
saw Erica that something happened to her.
yeah. There was some setup for like, yeah, she was trapped in a fire or something.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time he was talking to her. It was
I'll
probably
have to
recently,
investigate.
but
Yes.
yeah, that was pretty funny.
hmm
Definitely one of my favorite bits in the
Yeah.
show.
The one bit that does matter about Bojack, using his book to fuck someone, or using Diane's book to fuck someone, actually, I should say, is that when the bed breaks, Diane's book on Secretariat like falls out, and then he's like, "Huh." And so we sort of get a reminder that she wrote the book on Secretariat. I don't. We knew that, right? Yes.
Yeah, we knew
Yes.
that. That's why she did Bojack's thing,
Right.
because
Right.
that's like
Right.
why Bojack was okay with it and everything. Um, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was interesting too. Whenever like, because he's doing good. He just got late because of his book, right? And like this was kind of like the whole season. Like this was supposed to be his like big goal, and it was going to change everything. And seeing that book reminded him that his bigger dream was to play Secretariat, and now he's again not satisfied and not happy and moving on, which is something that is touched on
Yeah.
later on as well.
hmm Yeah. So we transition to Diane, who's gotten a call from Sebastian St. Clair, who is like a snow leopard.
Yeah.
And he's
Can we
a
just acknowledge the fact that that is my name, which
yeah.
means that this is my
I
character?
wrote that down. I was like, how does it feel to have the billionaire philanthropist slash adventurer as
Yeah.
your BoJack persona?
I mean, it seems pretty
Your
accurate
Boj
to
Sona,
me, but
your Jack Sona,
yeah.
your BJ Sona.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So Sebastian St. Clair is yeah, just doing ridiculous like war reporting, saving lives stuff. It's very over the top. I do love how he speaks though. It's great.
Yeah, I like that in every time they show him, he's just running around doing so much crazy shit. He was
Yeah.
like handing out meals at one point and just gave one to somebody who didn't have any arms, and you just see him like struggling to get it, and we never find out what happens to that kid, man.
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, so he offers Diane to come join him and help write some stuff on all of these terrible things going around the world. Something important, right?
Yeah.
As an aside thing, I just have a suspicion that like actually, if she did go, it would actually all be about Sebastian St. Clair and not actually about the places
Oh,
that he is.
yeah. He
Yeah,
definitely seems like the sort of person that would go give like $1 to a homeless person and then like make a vlog about it.
yeah. I mean, just the fact that like he's a billionaire, like you can't be a good person by being a billionaire. So like he's already been eliminated in my book for that. I feel like Diane especially would be really aware of that. Like
Yeah.
you can tell kind of in her calls, she's like, I think the stuff that you're doing is cool and the stuff in the problems that you're talking about are really important. But also Sebastian St. Clair, like, she definitely I did not get the feeling that like she super, super respected him as like
Oh
a good
yeah,
guy.
no,
Yeah.
definitely not. Yeah,
hmm
I mean we'll get to see more of him.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I think yeah, this whole thing with Cordovia and Diane is really interesting. I kind of go back and forth on how I feel about Diane in regards to why she tries to do these things, and if she actually does care about, like, if she really cares enough about these kids in Cordovia to go um and do this, or is it just because she feels insecure about how like trivial the things that she is doing is.
hmm
She does seem to get like weird about that sort of stuff, and I'm not entirely sure like why that is. Definitely one thing that occurred to me is that it might stem from her family and how like she was never really like doing enough for them, and maybe like
Hmm.
that's just something that she always feels. But yeah, I would like to kind of pay attention to that and figure out what exactly her motive is
Hmm.
behind all of that.
Yeah. That said, she's not gonna please her family by helping orphans. That is
No,
not the
of course
path.
not. No.
No.
No, I just think like that probably built like I don't think she's gonna go to make her parents proud. I just
Yes.
think that
No.
it's something
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
built an
Yeah. Yeah.
insecurity within
Mm-hmm.
her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she's debating whether or not to take this job. Eventually, she does get asked to join the Secretariat movie that is being made, as a character consultant, and so she's kind of debating that back and forth. She says that she kind of needs to get out of LA, and I don't know. I feel like every character in the show needs to get out of LA. You know, the whole thing with the
Yeah.
tar pit. And then there's this theme, and we'll talk about it more later, or we can talk about it now. This theme of like, there's always later, and I don't know
Hmm.
if there is. Like, is
No,
there always
that
later?
I think that that is supposed to be like kind of a joke,
Hmm.
like with how she's just like, yeah, 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 just like go to Cordovia later. Like there's always later, and it's like, yeah, that's horrible advice. Like a really good mentality to have is like don't wait for later. Like do things now, because if you wait for later, later never comes. Although that advice can get toxic
Hmm.
to a point. I think I definitely have that issue where I convince myself that like I have to do a ridiculous amount of things in like an impossibly short amount of time because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I only have like 3 years to accomplish all my life goals, which is
Yeah.
not true.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that is supposed to be like darkly funny.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with it not always being good advice. As someone with ADHD, every single thing that I need to do is like, it just pops in my brain. I'm like, I need to do this now or I will forget about it later. There is no later.
Mm,
And that has not led me to having good long-term success. So,
yeah, yeah, no, that I
um,
think that that is important. Yeah, just like with that whole thing of doing needing to do things now. A lot of like the biggest accomplishments and things that you can create and do in your life take long term like planning and patience and work. And whenever you have this mentality of you need to accomplish things quickly, which definitely LA would be a place where that
hmm,
would kind of be the mentality. Then you kind of end up just with a bunch of like little small kind of things that you did, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Um, Yeah, that's definitely the feeling I got. So, Mr. Peanut Butter, trying to convince Diane to stay and do or to not go do this big important thing. He says, "The universe is a cruel, uncaring void. The secret to happiness isn't a search for meaning; it's to keep yourself busy with unimportant nonsense, and eventually you'll be dead." Which is interesting.
I mean, that's
Um,
definitely just calling out people that are like Mr. Peanut Butter. I mean, that is why they're usually happier. Maybe they're not doing as much
mhm.
important stuff, but they are happy because they're distracted.
Yeah. So actually, I kind of find this as one of like a really important statement for this episode
Mm,
because so tying it back to the running away from the nothingness, right, the
mm,
Secretariat has, and that we kind of see Bojack has like internalized in some way at least. um I'm wondering, like, is the unimportant nonsense the nothingness? Is it the running away? Is the running an unimportant nonsense, or is the running a search for meaning? Because I don't know. Like, I think for Bojack, the stuff that he has been doing, his version of running, acting and such, has been the unimportant nonsense,
mm-hmm.
right?
Right,
And I don't think like running, you get like a secret to life out of that, right? Or maybe you
right.
do. I don't know if Secretariat did is what I mean. Of course you can get, meaning out of anything, but um yeah, so I don't really know. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
running away from something is not too dissimilar from distracting yourself from something.
Yeah, I feel like this can also be connected with the whole thing where, he sees a Secretariat book and now he's jumping onto something else. It's like, um, I don't know. I feel like you're constantly trying to get to this place that you deem to be perfect. Whether for Bojack that was finishing his book or, having lived in Maine, something like that. You're constantly looking for this thing. And then once you get there, you're just looking for something else. I definitely think that ties into the whole, like, the universe is a cruel, uncaring void. Just with, like, searching for this meaning that will just, like, all of a sudden make you content and satisfied. It's just, like, never going to happen. So you may as well just enjoy um, those other things. But yeah, the unimportant nonsense, I'm not sure if he's talking about, either like his work or if that would be more like the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, finding purpose in just like doing a thing, I think is probably closer to what this show is saying is a better way to live your life. But yeah, the distinction between the two, the distractions versus like the meaning, is, I think it's kind of hard to tell, and I think probably this show is trying to figure it out. On the whole never being satisfied thing, later on they're on the roof together, and Bojack says, like, yeah, this is the adoration I always wanted, and now I'm getting Secretariat. That's what I've always wanted. And he seems like dissatisfied still. Diane says, that's the thing. You either know what you want and can't get what you want, or you get what you want and then you don't know what you want.
Exactly.
Which I mean, it also ties back to
so what she was
Diane.
saying, like, you can't be happy right now, then you're probably never gonna be happy.
Well, that, and like she has her wedding and it's the happiest day of her life, and then now it's the day after the wedding. What does that mean? Yeah. So yeah, and I was saying before we started recording that I feel like this episode is a bit more of a serious episode. Like, of course there was funny moments, and there's plenty more that I want to pull out. Actually, I kind of, after this little bit, I kind of want to just like talk about like Vincent and Princess Carolyn, and also Peanut Butter and Todd, and just like all their dumb shit that they get up to. But I definitely felt that this episode was a lot more mellow and, like, I don't want to say like serious in the sense of like, staring at maybe more just like grounded, or just like sober. It feels more sober. That's what I mean to say. Yeah,
that makes more sense, because whenever you mentioned it earlier, like, I was kind of countering that with, like, I did not feel like this was any more like serious or dark than any of the other episodes. I think it's definitely less dark than a lot of them, but sober is definitely a better word. Like, it doesn't feel as, like, I don't know, chaotic and whimsical.
Yeah. Like, the last episode was a drug trip where we like changed art style several times. And yeah, I mean, there's still, of course, ridiculous stuff that happens. The Golden Globe is for comedy or musical for a book. And obviously everything. I mean, Vincent the Dolman is a big character in this. Again,
and the whole Halloween store side story.
However, yeah, the main plot is like, Bojack isn't like pulling a gigantic, grift or anything. It's not a giant controversy. No one's being like hugely ridiculous. It's just kind of like they're kind of getting on and trying to figure out what they're going to do next.
So this actually reminds me of part of one of our discussions that we had over Discord with some of our listeners, and they were bringing up something that we talked about in the last episode, where the typically in this show, it seems like the second to last episode tends to be a lot more intense and crazy than the very last one. And they were talking in the Discord about how this is actually really purposeful, and that it's been kind of like a trend with a lot of shows lately, where they leave like the last episode to kind of like tie things together a bit and avoid like really aggravating cliffhangers. And I decided to word that as the finale aftercare.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think that's why things are a little more chill, is that they're trying to, like, now everything has happened and this is the state that things are in, whereas before everything was happening. Now this is the aftermath of what's happened in season 1.
The denouement, the aftermath, epilogues, etc. Actually, not an epilogue at all, but otherwise. Yeah. All right, so let's get into all the funny stuff real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about first Todd and Mr. Peanut Butter, who just like go through a series of just ridiculous ideas, mostly relying on wordplay. Like smoothies are a mood that you can drink like a smoothie, but they're not smoothies. They're smoothies. They're the mood.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
didn't
a
actually
smoothie.
like draft a product or
No.
explain. I like that Princess Carolyn was like, I think it's some sort of like adult onesie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Um
funny. The falafel, that was
yeah.
good.
The best part about the Halloween store. So Todd's like, there's an issue, which is that I want to buy Halloween stuff, but if it's not October, I can't buy Halloween stuff. So I want to open a Halloween store that's open, and then Mr. Peanut Butter's like all year round, and he's like, no,
Just
just
in
in
January.
January. Which yeah, killed me. And that's what they did in the store, Halloween in January. And then they take out the ground floor of the building and they don't put it back, and three people fall in, the third of which is Andrew Garfield. And it's great. It's a good bit. I liked
It's
it.
so funny too because they were like, oh yeah, like we took out the flooring because Mr. Peanut Butter was like scratching it up, but like usually whenever like you take out the flooring, that
There's
doesn't
still like
mean that
concrete
there's like
underneath.
a
Yeah.
pit.
It's like it was clearly also like several stories too, like because people like fell for a second,
Yeah. Yeah,
um
that's pretty good.
yeah. And then Vincent Adultman and Princess Carolyn are kind of having a little drama as we go on, where Vincent is just like too focused on business adult things, and
Yeah.
Princess Carolyn,
Yeah.
she still feels young and she wants to live. She also feels the grass between her toes, and Vincent
And she
Adultman is
thought they
just
were
too mature for her.
monogamous.
Yeah.
She thought they were monogamous, and he
Manama
goes,
what?
Manama, what? She said, I thought I. Oh my gosh. I thought we were on the same page here,
Real.
Vince.
Do you think? Okay, here's the thing. I could see Vincent Adultman definitely going on another date, but kind of not realizing that it's a date,
Yeah.
because he's several children. But
I mean,
um,
yeah, I suppose so.
how do you think the other children feel in the trench coat? Like,
What
because
do you
it's
mean
just
other children?
you're
What are you
right. I'm
talking
sorry.
about?
He's just a really lumpy, baby-faced adult
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
Oh, that's not funny, Alex.
No, I'm sorry. I'm being very prejudiced. Yeah, and then so they have like a little falling out, and then finally at that party for smoothies, Vincent like kicks down the door and comes on in,
Says
or waddles
Princess
in.
Carolyn.
I have an attitude problem.
And I took a time out.
I was so focused on being a big man, but the biggest thing a man can do is be honest. And then he says, and then you think he's going to be like, I'm three children in a trench coat. And then he says, no, I love you. And then they have a happy ending, and we see
Yep.
them in the montage at the end, and it's beautiful.
It is very beautiful. I think they're great together.
Yeah. Yeah, he just needed to spend a little bit less time at the business factory.
Yeah, at the business factory. Now they're going on vacation. He got a very cute swimsuit.
Yes, it's a swim trench coat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's such a tall trench coat too.
Yeah.
Last aside from that, Princess Carolyn, during the little bit where they are apart and she's like, yeah, I want to be young and hip and different, she says, I'm going to go get my whiskers trimmed.
I'm going to be knocking into stuff for days, but I'll look hot.
Yeah, which is one, very relatable, and two, just
That
so fucking funny.
Yeah, that was really
For those
funny.
who don't know, cats use their whiskers to detect balance. It's kind of like how we have our inner ear, right? And yeah, so if you trim the whiskers, suddenly like they're way off of balance and they can't figure out like how to walk again because yeah, they feel like dizzy, like they're falling over all the time. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Beauty is pain.
Funny.
So
yeah, true.
Yeah. What horrible beauty standards that Princess Carolyn has to live under,
Honestly, yeah. They should protest a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She should not be cutting her whiskers.
Yeah. Back to the serious stuff real quick before we get to getting on the roof there.
Mm-hmm.
Bojack does audition for for Secretariat. They start making the movie. He's dead set on it, and he's able to get an audition. Of course, they give the part to Andrew Garfield first because you can't say no to Spider-Man.
But
Also,
Andrew Garfield gets in a little accident.
yes,
He
he
can't
falls in the
go.
Halloween story. Side note, I think it's funny that Turtle Top is played by J.K. Simmons, who plays what's his name, the guy who needs more pictures of Spider-Man in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies.
I have not seen those movies.
Okay, well, he also voices the same guy in the Spider-Man video games, and he's very good in that. Because like you basically get like a whole podcast of him just like ranting about Spider-Man. It's wonderful. He does the voice perfectly.
So this is definitely like a good. I wonder if they like knew they were going to do that before they casted him, or if they just decided to throw Andrew Garfield into it because they thought it'd be funny.
I think so. Regardless, Bojack auditions, and they doubt him at the very beginning. But he does a very, very good and sober performance, and I think it's very much because like, you know, the lines that he's saying, all that seriousness about Secretariat, that is him. He's going through the same things, and I think
and it's
the line
a role
basically
that he actually cares about too.
That's very true, very important. He says people mistake greatness for goodness, but there's nothing behind me, and there's like nothing inside of me, and it's like a sober moment again. You know, it's not like over dramatic. It's not like Bojack is, you know, having that reaction in the aftermath of something super serious. That's just like him kind of like being serious for a second.
Yeah.
Side note, what is with Bojack and all these powerful women in his life, like being super intimidating? Because like the director lady, I forget her name, but yeah, she's just like, don't call this number. If I need you, I'll call you.
They're girl
and it just
bosses.
reminded me of the one that was like, you know, I do this conversation 12 times a day or whatever.
Yeah, Angela.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's show business, baby. That is interesting. I feel like there hasn't been like a lot of like men in those roles in the show, actually.
That's very, very true. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's like, I mean, I kind of doubt it, but I was about to say like maybe that's accurate for Hollywood, but I don't think that's true, actually.
Well, also just like men being in such a position of power definitely just like feels different usually. Yeah. It just feels more overtly like negative and evil, I think.
Yeah.
Because at least when it's a girl boss, you're like, yeah, go girl boss.
Yeah.
At least there's not like you're that particular institutional power behind them. They don't have patriarchy on their side.
I think it was a good choice to do that. Definitely, it kind of like keeps focus probably more on what the show's about. Because yeah, it would be like, I think we're also supposed to kind of like blame Bojack a bit more like for his shortcomings, and that if it was just like a bunch of like shitty dudes, that we might like give him, we might like give him more leeway with it. But yeah.
So at this party, he goes on the roof where Diane is, and finally has that confrontation about, you know, answer the question. Do you think that I'm a good person deep down, right? Which again, we totally skipped over. I do really wonder what happened immediately after he asked that question, and there was that awkward silence. Like,
I think he probably just like left. I mean, it doesn't sound like they talked afterwards.
You know, did he just go like, okay, or what? You know, or did he just?
Well, that guy asked, "Are you from horsing around?" And that's probably whenever he was just like, "I am leaving."
yeah, that makes sense. And Diane answers. She says, "You caught me off guard, and I don't believe in deep down. I think all you are the things that you do."
Yeah, I disagree with this statement a lot. I'm definitely like, this was a line from the show that stuck with me and that I honestly think about all the time, and it's been a really big theme in a lot of our discussion questions. But yeah, I definitely think that what you do is really important, but I think that intent does come into play a bit. There are a lot of examples of this. So for instance, like there are people with depression who are really fucking good people, and they have things that like they want to do and they just like cannot do them.
Mm-hmm.
Depressed people can do shitty things. Or make people feel shitty. And it's not exactly their fault. And honestly, it's so case by case. I think just making the statement that you are only the things you do is very much oversimplifying things. And yeah, same thing with like just like poor people.
Mm-hmm.
Like poor people can't fucking go to Cordovia and write like a
Yeah.
big thing about this whole thing, or like, you know, does is somebody a better person because they had because they had billions of dollars and were able to donate $100,000 to a charity, whereas a poor person can't? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, it has to do with who you are. I think a really important factor is how hard you're trying. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is important. Like, if you're doing as much as you can and you have those good intentions and you're doing all that you can to do those
Mm-hmm.
good things, I think that that's kind of where the line is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. And I feel like I didn't have as strong of a disagreement, but after you point out all those things, I definitely agree. You know, it's just like if you don't have the power to change things, of course you're not gonna do as many good works. I do think that like it's not like I don't think she's saying straight up like you are the like objective effect that you have on the world. I think it is a little bit more of the like are you trying kind of thing. But because I don't think that she would look at Sebastian St. Clair and be like, yes, this is the goodest person that there can be.
Maybe that's
Um,
part of her character development.
it could
Maybe,
be.
like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not speaking from any sort of future reference, but like, maybe she does feel like that's an objective thing now. And
I
that maybe
it
that's why he's being introduced to it.
it could be. Yeah, we should definitely keep an eye on it. I feel like it's more like the from what I know of Diane, it feels like she would be more like on an interpersonal level. If you try to be good to people and you do good things for the people around you, not in a monetary sense, but just like, you know, give effort to other people, that's a good person.
Mm,
However, when it comes to depression and mental illness, you're absolutely right that that still is like that's a complicating factor,
yeah. I
because you're
mean,
basically
there's
saying that
lots.
everyone who just like kind of because of the mental illness that they have kind of ruins the lives of the people around them or just makes it things harder that they aren't good people, and I think that
Yeah.
yeah that's wrong.
There's a lot of factors and a lot of ways to argue it on both sides. And honestly, yeah, I just think all in all, it's not black and white, and it really just needs to be taken case by case, person by person. And oversimplifying it is, I feel like, a lazy way to put yourself up in like on like this self-righteous pedestal, you know?
Hmm.
And I don't like it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I get why on like that same page, if we're just referring to it more in the context that she said it rather than a general sense of saying this to Bojack specifically, then I feel like that's fair and that it
Hmm.
is yeah, something that he needs to hear, and
Yeah.
hopefully he'll interpret it the right way.
Yeah, I think at the very least it's like I think what the purpose of her saying that is like Bojack, don't be so focused on this like ephemeral like coreness that this deep downness because like it kind of doesn't matter what your deep downness is
Yeah, if
because
you're
what does
not doing
matter
anything in
yeah
addition to
and you're
it.
not
Yeah,
trying to do those things like
exactly.
either we talked about this on the Discord a lot actually recently and I really like the conversations we had about it but
Hmm.
basically being like what answer do you want to hear, Bojack, and what are you going to do with each one? Yes, you are a good person, and now you are satisfied, and you don't have to try to be a good person. Or no, you aren't a good person, and you should give up and stop trying to be one. Like the outcome is the same. I don't think either one of them he'd be like, okay, now I will do more because I am a good person, and therefore I will try harder. It's yeah, I think definitely the framing of it more of an active thing with you having control over it I think is really important. It's also something just important with like mental illness in general. That's a complicating thing all the time that I'm dealing with between ADHD and depression, being like, you know, the I should forgive myself for not doing the things that I wish that I was doing, because I have mental illnesses that make those things much more difficult than they would otherwise be. But if I, let that become an excuse, then I stop trying and I get worse, right?
Yeah, you have to use that as an explanation rather than an excuse. You still have to take accountability for your actions and try as much
Yeah.
as you possibly can to change them. I think that since we're talking about it, we should just bring up that part in the discussion that we had. But somebody in our Discord was kind of comparing it to saying that Bojack was kind of seeing change as like a bus, saying like, did I miss it? And he's not acknowledging that changing actually does take really hard work. He's just looking for a way to get out of that hard work. And yeah, whatever he does, he's going to continue not to change, and he's going to continue treading water, as we went over.
Yes. I think that's a really great way of putting that. Anything else you want to say about this particular scene and concept and stuff?
No.
Okay. After we have a montage, actually real quick, is Bojack, then we see him watching a rerun of Horse and Around, and we touch back on that theme of the episode has all the kids going up saying that they were distracted by sort of nonsensical things in their lives and they lost track of what was really important. And then Bojack's, what's really important is you guys right here, and it's sort of like an implication of like friends and family and the people that you care about.
Yeah, and then in that montage, everyone that we see, they're
I actually did notice that.
Yeah, they're all like people that throughout the first season, like Bojack has kind of fucked over and hurt with his actions, yet all of them have adapted to their new situations, and they're all like with someone that they love. Like Mr. Penguin guy, got to see his kids, which was really cute.
His name is Pinky, by the way. His name is Pinky Penguin.
Pinky.
So now we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Sarah Lynn is with Andrew Garfield again. There's Vincent and Carolyn. Like they all have like their shit still, but they are with other people. And then we see Bojack by himself in the dark,
remembering
watching
this
Horsing Around
thing. Yeah. Side note, we do see Margot Martindale in jail. The characters she's with are the characters from Orange is the New Black. Yeah, like they're really recognizable. I did not notice that until I saw it twice because I went back. And I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
That did seem like very out of the blue. I was like, oh, okay. But I think whenever that came out, Orange is the New Black was definitely like a lot more relevant than it is now. So I guess it makes like a little more sense.
Yeah. And during that montage, we have Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones playing. So I don't actually I'm not super familiar with the song. I did look at the lyrics. It kind of felt like there was like a sense of loss and then like, being together with someone eventually, sort of like in a fantastical sense. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I did. So we talked about this earlier, but I do just want to say there are a lot of like music references and things like that in this show, and we are keeping track of them, but we will have actually a special music episode that is just specifically about the music. So that's kind of why we're not completely delving into all of it each
we will
time.
Be singing that entire episode.
Yeah, it's a musical
It's a musical episode of a Halfway Downcast, so I'm looking forward to it.
Please don't. We're not actually doing that.
I'm going to do it. I'm gonna get a voice coach. I'm gonna learn how to sing, and it's gonna be great. So I'll be doing a dance as well. That will be a patron only content. At the $50 level or above, you can see me do a little dance for the podcast. Otherwise, you'll just hear my stomping around and falling over. So, okay, the final scene, and we really. As a season finale, it does very much feel like, okay, we are slowly tapering out because we have this whole montage and it feels like that's the end. And then we have another scene and another song.
Which was really good. I really liked it.
The Bojack, or do you want to summarize it?
Yeah, I would like to. So Bojack ends up bringing his award out to the Griffith Park Observatory, which is it's been shown in the show before, where it was where Herb first originally had actually offered the job to Bojack for horsing around. It's where
And
like
the
they
whole
kissed
telescope
and
thing.
stuff.
Yeah.
The whole telescope thing, and they made a deal that whenever they were both super successful and they had made it big, then they were going to meet right there and high five. And Bojack brought his award and stood there and kind of looked out. I also would like to bring attention to the fact that Griffith Park Observatory is a real place.
As featured.
As featured in it's also featured in GTA 5. So if you want to go drive around and find that, it's pretty cool.
Okay. You too could be Bojack Horseman. You could get a
Yes.
mod where you look like Bojack Horseman.
Exactly.
And you could stand at the park. As a side thing, he was carrying the award the entire episode. I want to make that clear. Every single scene that he was in, he was holding the award.
God damn.
Which is, I don't know what to say to that.
Sad a little bit.
A little bit. But he does have a fan approach him and has him sign the book, and he's like, the kid, a young horse, says, "You're like my hero, man." And he's like, "Really? Huh?" And then we have a pan out as he looks out at LA.
Yeah.
And then Closer by Tegan and Sarah starts playing, and I find that really interesting. I'm actually tempted to just read a couple of the lyrics out.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's very much like just like a pop song, okay? And I think that's very, very relevant. The chorus goes, "It's not all just physical. I'm the type who won't get oh so critical. So let's make things physical. I won't treat you like you're oh so typical. I want you close. I want you," and then etc. So it's like a pop song about sex, basically, or about attraction, and there are some kind of beautiful parts. The lights are off and the sun is finally setting. The night sky is changing overhead. Here come the dreams of you and me. Here come the dreams. So those are pretty nice, actually. But it's basically like, let's focus on our physical attraction and then enjoy those things, and that's all that really matters to me. And it kind of reminds me of that unimportant nonsense stuff, but like in a romantic sense.
Yeah, I think it's drawing attention to the fact that Bojack really is just very lonely, and he needs to establish relationships in his life.
Yeah.
Which kind of, I feel like, gives us like a little, like, I don't know, we could maybe anticipate to see more of that in the second season.
Yeah. After all these experiences that Bojack has, I'm sure he's going to be a really good person the next season.
Oh, yeah.
He's really changed.
He's going to turn a leaf, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, can't wait. One little moment I did want to bring out from before, it was back on that roof as that scene was ending, and we were going to that montage. Bojack says to Diane, "I really wanted you to like me, Diane." And then Diane says, "I know," which is just like, "Whoo, boy."
Yeah.
I don't even know how to interpret that. Like, is that
it's like they both very much recognize like what's happened, and they've accepted it, and they're just embracing how their new relationship kind of looks. I think they both just know that it's not really a fixable thing, but that they're willing to just live like that anyways.
Yeah, when they talk about how Diane is joining the show, she's like, "Is that weird?" And Bojack says, No, it's not weird." And you can tell he's like a little bit just saying it, but also
he wants it to be true.
And also, like in the past, like it would have been weird. Why would that be weird? But it's not that. He's just like kind of genuinely just like trying for it not to be.
I think this was honestly better for their relationship. Like now it's kind of like how Todd was saying, like, yeah, like I've just kind of changed how I see our relationship, and like now I won't be as disappointed because I won't expect as much. Like now everything's kind of out in the open, and Bojack can be himself because Diane really does know him. There's like less tension.
Yeah. I think it was a really good episode. I liked it a lot. Definitely a good season finale.
Yeah, I think so too, for sure.
I think that's all we have for you about the main episode. Anything else, Sebastian, before we get into the discussion question?
So as far as the discussion question for last week's episode, we did kind of like discuss all of it throughout this recording already. But our next question is, we just kind of want to know how you guys interpret Secretariat's advice to run from the nothingness, and if you think that this is good advice, just that whole bit. Yeah, I want to know kind of
I
what the
definitely am
thoughts are on
already
that.
going back and forth rapidly about it because, yeah, maybe it's good to have, like, that's a way that you find meaning and purpose, but also he did kill himself a month later, so
Yeah.
not that good of advice
I
for
also
him
like wondering
specifically.
like if he meant that as in like to suppress things as well and to just like
Mm-hmm.
because I was thinking that this may have had something to do with his decision with Bojack's decision to just like abandon her and just like keep
Mm-hmm.
moving forward.
He does say stuff about, like, people are going to try to drag you down and you need to
Yeah.
just keep running.
Yeah, so yeah, we want to hear a bit about that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to let us know what you think of the discussion question or tell us anything else about what we talked about on the episode or just how about you feel the show in general, it is the season finale. So if you just want to talk about how season 1 was for you, please do let us know. We would love to talk about that and just how its general vibe is.
Yeah, also if you have any like anything that you want us to talk about on the show or if you have any feedback for us, definitely share that as well.
Yeah. This is the end of our first season. That's kind of exciting.
Mhm.
We're now going to have S2 in the episode titles.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and additionally, of course, there is the fan art contest. Do keep that in mind. We'll post a link to the fan art contest in a lot of different places,
Yeah, just
so
look
you can see
at
all the rules and such.
any of our social media accounts.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put it on all of them. I just made us an Instagram. It's gonna go on there too. It's also just called VHD Cast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, yes,
yeah. Oh, so the Instagram is it's at VHDcast as well,
yep.
just like our Twitter, which is at
Mhm.
VHDcast. So go and follow us, and then hit that bell. Although Elon Musk is about to buy Twitter, I think.
Ugh,
So I don't know how that's gonna go.
yeah.
Maybe we will have to also join the Exodus. We'll see. Yes. And of course, if you just want to send us an email, do that by emailing halfwaydowncast@gmail.com, which is also a good way to send your fan art or any questions that you have at all. Um, yes.
Yeah, and also just thank you
Mhm.
for sticking around for a whole season and listening to
Yeah,
our show.
we really, really appreciate it.
We are also going to be taking a short hiatus. We'll be back in 2 weeks. But yeah, just to, take a little break after the finale and get our stuff together, get prepared for a new season and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, there's a lot of other things going on at Doof Media. I wanted to call it how the Doofcast is now doing a deconstructing director series on Scott Ridley. And I think it's good that we say this episode because this is definitely a timeless thing to say because they're going to take, I think they're covering like 26 movies or something, which is crazy. So it's going to take like a year for them to cover all of it.
Yeah, that is very
Yeah.
crazy.
So they've covered so far The Duelists, Alien, and Blade Runner, which are fucking fantastic. So I'm really excited to listen to those episodes. And of course, please consider supporting the show. Telling your friends, telling people about the fan art contest, and donating because all the winnings and stuff for the contest and stuff is using money that we got from our patrons. So it's really a good way to give back to the community and stuff. That's all we have for y'all this episode. Sebastian, please bow us out with our animal fact of the week.
Today's animal fact of the week is that after parrots, turkeys are the most intelligent avians since the extinction of the ivory-billed woodpecker.